decisions, that person is able to veto that unfavorable condition and eventually emerge and build a destiny that brings glory to the Lord. Your decisions, more than your conditions, decide the quality of your life. I learned this from Dr. Murdoch many years ago, that decisions decide destiny. It is true. It is true. Sounds very childish, sounds like rhetorics, just sounds like a play of words, but the power in these words will only be understood as you grow. Decisions decide destiny. God can will for you a destiny of beauty and grace and glory and color, and in truth he does. Jeremiah 29:11, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, said the Lord, they are thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. God desires a great life. John 10:10, I am come that ye may have life, and that you have that life more abundantly. So if in the mind of God, every one of us, you and I, as a global family, as individuals, as a community, as a nation, as a continent, in God's preordination, he's designed for us a life of grace, a life of glory, a life of dignity, a life of beauty, a life of color. But now, whether you will step into the reality of prophecy is not just dependent on the will of God, it's dependent among many other factors on your power to choose. If God says yes and you say no, he will respect your no. Are we together? Praise the name of the Lord. Decisions decide destiny. I've also taught you in this house that every decision, good or bad, is connected to a consequence. The word consequence simply means a corresponding outcome. You may want to write that if you're interested. The word consequence means a corresponding outcome. So that every decision in life, in destiny, spiritually, financially, maritally, educationally, and otherwise, is connected to a consequence. Now, you are given the power to choose, but you do not choose the consequences that follow. Every decision by default is connected to a consequence. Are we together? Now, you cannot say, I want to choose this, I want to make this choice, but this is the consequence I want. Unfortunately, no. The decisions themselves decide the consequences that follow. One of the ways you are trained to choose wisely is to examine, either through the lens of experience or the lens of the word, the consequences connected to every decision. This is one of the powerful things with the word of God. It is not only a capture of promises. The Bible is not just a compendium of promises. It is a compendium of corresponding consequences. Most people focus on the promises. Are we together? But they do not know that the Bible is also a rich capture of consequences. That if you decide to go left, God will respect it. But with going left, there are corresponding consequences, and that they have an implication on your life and they have an implication on your children. If you decide to go right, there are consequences. Either ways. If you decide to be spiritually vibrant, there are consequences. You decide to pray, there are consequences. You decide to be prayerless, there are consequences. You decide to be a giver, there are consequences. Are we together? If you decide to be diligent, there are consequences. You decide to be a crook, there are consequences. And let me tell you the truth, some of those consequences are not immediately obvious. Now, this is what beguiles people to downplay the power of choices, because for most of the decisions, the consequences are not immediate. Most of the choices, the consequences are not immediate. If you put your hand in fire, the consequence is immediate. You feel it immediately, and so you withdraw your hand. Are we together? You put your hand over cold ice, you feel it immediately. But there are certain consequences that may take months, may take years, may even take decades. But as surely as the Lord lives, there are consequences. And if not intercepted by the mercy of God or another choice, those consequences will follow you. I'm sad to say this, and I hate to say it, but I have to. There are people today in old age. Their trouble did not start when they were old. The entire days, their old age was spent receiving consequences like loads. And just when they are trying to manage one, another one comes and they say, where did this come from? Oh, it's a final parcel called your consequence, arriving from 25 years ago of your decisions. Finally landed. Unfortunately, it landed and is resting on an old man. Many people go to their graves today in regret. There are some who live smiling. I've seen a few who transited smiling, knowing that they made wise choices, even if not all through their days, that their final moments were full of wise choices. But there are others who left in pain. You could feel the energy of pain and regret, wishing if they could go back again and make that decision. Ladies and gentlemen, victory is by choice. Life is by choice. A great destiny is by choice. Failure is also by choice. It's very uncomfortable to admit this, because sometimes you hear people say life is not fair, and they mean because of their condition, and in many regards they are right. But unfortunately, everyone is presented with a reality that has nothing to do with you. But from the time you are aware of that reality, what you make out of it now becomes your issue. It may not be your fault that you were born from an irresponsible family, unfortunately, and with all due respect, by an irresponsible man or an irresponsible woman. It may not be your fault that you were born and dedicated to idols, carrying crosses and yokes. It may not be your fault that you were a child of a traditional worshiper. It may not be your fault, but from the day you have access to the gospel, everything that becomes of your destiny is your choice. Yes, sir, it's your choice. It's your choice. It's your choice. Listening to Dr. Miles Munroe of blessed memory, you hear him say humorously that he grew up in a family where they would literally lie down on the ground as they slept. I hope I'm right on that. And they literally would be able to see the stars from their room because there were holes everywhere. Sad for them if it rained. All of them had to be compressed. Literally, you know how you put sardines and just put it there. But right there, he made a choice. I like this. He made a choice that my life, for someone, you came here to church tonight, and I'm telling you, God is giving you an opportunity again. And he said, my brother, make the choice and make it fast. My sister, make the choice. The same energy it takes to choose is the same energy it takes to market regret. You can spend your life wasting your energy marketing regret, or you can convert that energy to power to say, from this day forward, I make a choice. I made a statement one time speaking here, and I said it ends with me. Still remember? Someone shout it already in advance. Say, it ends with me. Everything that makes for